Take a look at the numbers. J&J says its vaccine was 72% effective at preventing COVID in the U.S., 85% effective in preventing the most serious symptoms. That compares to the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines that are roughly 95% effective. Importantly, the company says it was less effective against the dangerous South African strain.
Hi folks, welcome to Moderna Excels, and I really believe it's going to come down to the South African variant. So let's talk about that right now. What's going to matter and how Moderna is playing a leading role in dealing with the pandemic in the United States and around the world. Now, as we know, Johnson & Johnson just released their vaccine candidate. And let's talk about that first because it's obviously something that people are talking about. They're concerned about whether that's going to fluctuate the value of the Moderna vaccine or whether it's actually a serious candidate for competition. And what I'd like to do is just cover a few factors right off of the gate right here about this Johnson & Johnson
First
vaccine.
of all, the efficacy in the United States was 72%. Now, at first glance, that might not seem as good as 94, 95%.
Now, one of the things to keep in mind about this South African variant is that here you can see from a COVID-19 alert that the South African strain was first identified in December and appears to spread more readily. It carries mutations that allows it to bind more easily to human cells. However, this variant is considered to be the most threatening variant of all of them because of that factor. And Moderna is the only vaccine maker that's providing a means and a way to deal with this variant. That's what we have to notice, and that's what gives value to the Moderna vaccine over the other vaccines. However, Moderna has value beyond that because they're working on many other medical breakthroughs that we'll also get into on this channel.
So although the number of efficacy number, namely 72%, wasn't as impressive as 94, 95, it is clearly value added.
Not with an efficacy of 50% with the South African variant.
You're right, 72% doesn't sound as good as 94, 95%, but it's good enough?
Well, certainly. I mean, if you take a look particularly at what we're trying to do.
And remember, folks, this is all about the South African variant at this point. That will be the predominant COVID version in the United States in a short period. That's what we need to be concerned with.
So although it was not as good as a couple of the others in preventing early symptomatic disease, what it did do very well was prevent severe disease.
Now, is it just me, or are they working overtime and doing their best to try to explain up this vaccine in order to make it viable, when actually it's not very viable? It doesn't have a very good efficacy rating. And for them, it's just one more vaccine. That's what you have to remember. But for an investor or for somebody that's trying to gauge which one of these companies are utilizing this vaccine rush to best place their company and their platform for a future that's going to sustain their company, but also sustain humanity and in doing what they do, I think the mRNA platform, it's a biotech company focused on new technology that offers new means and new ways in order to rectify disease that humanity deals with. And unlike many of these other new companies, you hear them coming in, they are penny stocks often, and they're banking on getting into the vaccine rush, which really they're late for. At least from a stock perspective, they're late. They're not going to shoot up like other stocks have, like many investors think they will. Let's put it like this. They're in their rumor stage now. When Moderna was in its rumor stage, it was going up. By the time it actually put its vaccine out, the stock bleeded 40% of its value. I'm fearful that these investors who are banking on a massive upswing when or if their stock gets approved, they're in for a rude awakening. Just take a look at Johnson & Johnson. The moment they were approved, they went down. At this point, it's really all about the value-added benefit that raises revenue in order to excel products within their platform, and in that way, I think Moderna is placed very well. And I also think these late arrivers to the vaccine game is overhyped and lacking the ability to capitalize on it the way that Moderna has as a small cap company coming into this with many goals and a new technology base. So really what you have to look at is which one of these companies have been able to angle their company in a way to capitalize on this revenue, and which one of these companies will be able to continue to do that as the variants pop up and that they're going to have to make booster shots and react quickly to these variants. I think there's one company that stands out in its ability to do that, and that's Moderna. Moderna on both ends. The booster vaccines in order to react to these various variants that do pop up, but also to place themselves early in action to capitalize on the vaccine rush. And that's something Moderna has already done. They'll be showing their Q1 earnings coming up very shortly this month in February, and it's going to show that they've banked on this. They've got product sales, they've got a very successful stock, and they've got avenues, and they've got capability at this point in order to fund their mission. Their mission has always been clear, and we're going to talk about that. And their mission now is funded, and that's what you have to stay focused on. I see this as the Tesla of the biotech industry. And now let's get back to Fauci trying to explain up this Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
So it's the kind of thing that obviously, if we didn't have a 95% effective vaccine that was given an EUA some time ago, a 72% efficacious would have been, wow, this is really terrific. Everything is relative, as it were.
And I couldn't agree more, and quite frankly, I think that says all you need to know about these vaccines. There's a good chance this Johnson & Johnson vaccine will be billed to third world countries, places where they can't really afford the more expensive vaccines, the better ones. But from every American that I've spoke to, and from what I've seen on the news and from what other people have said, anyone who has a choice between a 94% efficacy rating or 70% efficacy rating, including in the South African variant, the 50% efficacy rating for Johnson & Johnson, I think they're going to choose the higher efficacy rating. Now let's also get into the other side of this, which is what are they doing about this South African variant? And from all that I could tell, every other vaccine maker, including Pfizer, has decided to do nothing except for Moderna. Moderna is making a booster vaccine, and in all fairness, it might actually have more to do with what they're capable of doing.
Still, if given a choice, some Americans may choose the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines over J&J.
I would prefer one of the other two. I don't mind, having to come back for a second dose if it's going to be a little bit more effective.
Americans are told in advance which vaccine they're receiving. Some Americans may be reluctant to get this vaccine when others are more effective.